What you're about to hear is a story that completely destroys one of the biggest anti-gun arguments in America. Watch this.
Charges are now filed after gunfire erupted outside of a price chopper in Pleasant Hill. One woman was killed and a teen was hurt.
When a madman opened fire in a grocery store parking lot, the thing that stopped him wasn't a gun-free zone sign. It wasn't a politician. It wasn't a new gun law. And it wasn't a police officer. It was a good guy. In fact, two good guys with guns. And according to police, that decision may have prevented even more innocent people from being killed. So let's talk about what happened. On May 25th, investigators say that Alan Thomas Price arrived at a Price Chopper grocery store in Pleasant Hill, Missouri. And according to court documents, Price allegedly pulled a .243 Winchester rifle from his vehicle and opened fire. Police say that his first shot struck a woman standing near her vehicle, killing her.
Pleasant Hills police chief says 45-year-old Amy Kuhn was shot and died from her injuries.
But the nightmare sadly did not end there.
A 16-year-old was also shot. Police say he remains hospitalized.
Think about that for just a second. A child, a grocery store parking lot, families walking in and out of the store, people loading groceries up into their vehicles, and an armed suspect is actively scanning for more targets. This is exactly the kind of situation that gun control advocates claim can only be handled by law enforcement, except there's one major problem with that argument. Police were not even there. And as you've heard multiple times before, when seconds count, police are only minutes away. Thankfully, that's when something absolutely remarkable happened.
Chief also says two armed bystanders stepped in after the first shots.
According to witnesses, one armed citizen saw the shooting unfold and moved toward the suspect with his pistol drawn. Another citizen retrieved a firearm from his truck, and together they held the alleged shooter at gunpoint until officers arrived. And if I understand correctly, the shooter turned the gun on himself. Let that sink in for a second. Let me paint this picture for you. The attack had already started. One woman was already dead, and the suspect was reportedly looking for additional victims. And two armed citizens stepped in and stopped the threat from escalating further. Pleasant Hill Police Chief Tommy Wright later praised the actions of those citizens. He said he appreciated people like that being in the community and credited them with helping prevent further violence.
That it's a good possibility that they prevented further bloodshed.
Notice something important. The police chief didn't condemn these armed citizens. He didn't say they made the situation worse. He didn't claim that they should have just hidden and waited for help to arrive. He thanked them because everyone understands a simple truth when lives are on the line. The first responder is usually whoever is already there. And in this case, the people who were already there just happened to be legally armed citizens. And now here is where the story becomes even more important. Imagine for just a second if certain lawmakers had gotten their way. Imagine if these citizens had been prohibited from carrying firearms. If they had been forced to leave their guns at home. Imagine if they had been disarmed by permit restrictions, carry bans, magazine limits, or any of the countless gun control proposals pushed across our country today. What happens then? What would have happened if they were not there? Who stops the shooter? Law enforcement? Law enforcement wasn't there. Who protects the families in that parking lot? Who protects the juvenile employee that was pushing shopping carts? Who prevents additional victims? The answer is very simple. Very simple. Nobody. Nobody would have been there to stop the shooter. And more people would have died.
I think that it's a good possibility that they prevented further bloodshed.
At least until law enforcement arrived. And by then, the damage would have already been way worse.
It's a good possibility that they prevented further bloodshed.
That's the reality that gun control advocates rarely discuss. They focus entirely on the gun. They focus entirely on the criminal with the gun. They almost never talk about the innocent citizen who uses a firearm to stop violence, because in their mind, they see them all as the same. But stories like this happen far more often than what many people realize. The Second Amendment is not about hunting. It's not about target shooting. And it's not about collecting firearms. At its core, it's about preserving the natural right of self-defense, the right to protect yourself, the right to protect your family, and sometimes, as this case demonstrates, the right to protect complete strangers you've never even met before. Because on that day in Missouri, two ordinary citizens found themselves in an extraordinary situation. They didn't wake up expecting to confront a murderer. They didn't ask for that responsibility. But whenever evil appeared in front of them, they had the means to do something about it. And because they did, countless families may have been spared unimaginable tragedy. And one final detail makes this story even harder to ignore. Court reports reportedly show that the suspect had previously been charged with threatening to shoot somebody back in October of 2025. And they had even recovered a shotgun during that investigation. Yet, he was released. So, once again, the system failed to stop the criminal. But they think all these gun laws are going to make a difference. The gun laws only prevent law-abiding citizens. It only applies to law-abiding citizens because criminals don't follow the law. And once again, armed citizens were left to deal with the consequences. That's why this debate matters. Because gun control laws don't magically eliminate evil people. Evil people do evil people things, but they can't make it harder for good people to stop them. And in Pleasant Hill, Missouri, the thing that stopped a bad guy with a gun was exactly what many politicians are trying to restrict: a good guy with a gun. Enough rambling. If you support the Second Amendment and believe law-abiding Americans have the right to defend themselves and others, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Do you think these armed citizens prevented a larger tragedy? If so, why? If not, why? And do stories like this prove that the right to keep and bear arms is more important than ever before? So do me a favor, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you in the next one.